Okay, okay. Fully in gear now. I don't think that, see, I usually try to avoid turning the camera on right when I get in the car, because you never know what you're gonna deal with when you're trying to get out of this place. Sometimes I can get right out, I jump right out, and it's smooth sailing, and other times it's fucking Orlando, you know, man? So I don't ever come up this far to get out of the complex, to get out of the residential area. But it looked like it was really backed up down that way. Geez. I have, not a whole lot to talk about. Yeah, if anything, this is going to be a good reminder not to do this again. Whew. Okay, first, 2.5 minutes into the video, I will say thank you to Alan for giving me the opportunity to buy the camera in his possession. Photokina, I don't even know what the brand of the camera is. I'm not familiar with it at all. It's this old-timey, like literally from the 60s or 70s, 35mm camera. So I thought that was pretty neat. Pretty cool. I have absolutely no intention of using it. But I will take pictures of it, not with it, but of it. So now I actually have a couple of items that I want to shoot, so to do a Touching Gadgets gallery for, post those on touchinggadgets.com. It gets traffic, surprisingly enough. Not a lot, but a little bit. Flaming zombies and undead Nathan Lane. It was a joke this morning. I've been tweeting. I don't know why. There's not really much point to it. But I've been intentionally tweeting. Not last night, but the 2 nights before. And the way I've been doing it, if you've seen it and you've been wondering what the fuck is up with this, it's the end of the day, it's nighttime, and I just sit down in front of the computer and I go, bleh, see what comes up. And it's been fun. It's a completely different sort of writing experience, and I think it's useful because, you know, when you don't feel like you're being productive, come up with something 160 characters or less. And there you go. Something productive. The other interesting part about it is it, you know, if you're doing it right, by right I mean the way I do it, it's a good exercise in rewriting and expanding vocabulary and understanding how words work together, because you know, I'll have this thought, okay, well that's a good quip, type it out, and I'm 12 characters over the limit. So I'm not going to bastardize. I don't want to bastardize the language in order to convey the idea. So I just come up with a way to rewrite it to make it work. And that's a fun little exercise, I think, an important little exercise. So yeah, that's the tweeting. The tweeting. I don't know. It probably won't last. That's not how those things go. I'm having a hard time with, and this is kind of funny coming from me, but with the sun setting so early, it getting dark so early, I'm having a hard time adapting to it, because it really does feel like the day is gone. I mean, I came home at 6:30, 7 o'clock last night, and it was just completely dark out, and it's just like, that feels like the end of the day. That's it. There's no more day left. And part of that's because I've been, I'm thinking about touching gadgets and some of the photos I want to take and video, and the new setup, like I did in the Nexus 7 video, the Razer video, it's not I guess it's not wholly dependent on outside light, but the blinds are open behind me, so I'm working with natural light, and I just feel like, well, the day's over. There's no light, so there's no light to do anything. It's a weird twist for me, because I do kind of like it when it's dark out. The sun is gone, the air is cooler. Of course, the air seems to be cooler for the most part these days, but I don't know. The flip side is that now I'm focused on the weekend rather than okay, I got home from work, what more work can I do? So I'm focused on the weekend, and I'm thinking, okay, this weekend I will shoot some stuff. I've got Emily's old Palm Pixie that I want to take pictures of, and shoot some video of. In addition, with finishing Caffeine, this is not going to be a very interesting video at all. Coming off of two very high concept, crazy videos, right? They can't all be good. They can't all be good. Although we have been, I and myself and Trip and myself, have been watching this inaugural week of Zogo very closely and paying I offered my services to Rochelle, Magpie Girl. There's an edit I did an edit of her first video as a spec pitch. At first she didn't brush me off, but she was very upfront by saying, I don't have any money for this, and I really do believe in paying for service, paying people what they're worth, which was respectable. But I followed that up with an offer to work with her for free, because I think that like Trip, there's something very beneficial there, and if we stay on it on a long-term basis, it will pay off. Plus, I'm interested in the exposure. I'm interested, in addition to eventually making money, I'm interested in, the more videos that aren't on my channel that have that Horberong tag on it, the better. Basically, that's what that means to me. And then I'm also interested in fostering some important relationships, some connections, because I pitched this plan to Trip, and he hasn't really poo-pooed me. I'm assuming he's just trying to read the book before he says yes or no. But when Religiously Roasted is officially available through all the channels, I want him to help me out and promote it a little bit. I think, you know, I've done all of this work for him, and this is the one hand, you know, you wash my back, I wash yours, sort of thing. You know, that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. But and it's not unfair. It's you know, I don't know. I don't know if I know. What? To change the subjects, the oh yeah, the iPod 2. I have the iPod Nano. The plan with the iPod Nano was to create more moderation in my drive. My drive to work, and obviously, and I don't know if you've noticed, by virtue of less daily vlogs, it actually has been successful. This week has been the week, and I haven't been turning on NPR too much, if at all. Shit, left the house without a phone. That is something different altogether. I do that occasionally. Every few months, I'll leave the house without a phone. Anyway, the point was to, you know, create that moderation in the drive, so I don't because I was getting to the point where I'm ready to pull my hair out. And the moderation was to get back into the swing of podcasts and enjoying those. And Apple actually created a independent podcast app, so they separated it from their music app. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. There you go. It's not a great app. One thing that I don't quite appreciate is not being able to tell where I'm at in the program. There's no marker. There's no playhead. What do you call that, Chris? That thingy? Oh yeah, Chris LeBrain's on Twitter. What? Pete Midipunk is on Twitter and Facebook. What? Selective is alive, but he's not anywhere. What? So I'm listening to podcasts, and the podcast app helps me. You know, there are podcasts that I was already interested in, but I'm expanding the plate of options, and I've got a whole mess of audio to sample and enjoy and keep me distracted on these drives. And you know, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and the moderation is helping so far. So far, so good, I believe. But the flip side is that when I listen to podcasts, all I think about is, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. So, you know, it's always been, you know, the Horbacast from last year. Was it last year? I don't know. But, you know, that's always been one of those things that I wanted to do, and I think Trip wants to do it too. And so last night I got sucked into this speculative dream show. And I haven't told Trip about it. I think I'm going to. If he watches this video, I guess he'll find out about it. But I'm not going to. I suggested we talk at the end of the week about Sogo, and we kind of like, after everything's posted on Sogo, we can review it and talk. So we'll probably do a video chat or something this weekend to catch up, and I will pitch this then. But yeah, I was driving home listening to Mark Maron, and he definitely, I love it. It was actually cool in that in the show, that in the episode that I was listening to, it was actually pointed out by Mark has really delved into and perfected the art of the conversation and the art of the interview, and it is really interesting and inspiring to see how he works, or listening to how he works, rather. So again, I'm just like filling my earballs with this kind of audio inspiration, creative inspiration, and I'm going, I can do this. So I'm thinking about things that Trip and I had been talking about earlier that day, and how there's a bigger, the bigger picture things that we want to accomplish, and the bigger things that he wants to be involved with. And I'm just like, okay, well, we got, and this is how I see it. I see it as steps, baby steps, kind of. So you start with first thoughts. His morning noodles of just whatever is there, and then it's the busted stuff on Sogo is a little bit more synthesized. It's a little bit more processed and thought out. And then what I see is the next step, and I'm characterizing it as busted stuff live on tape delay, and I'm characterizing it as a component of Trip's bigger picture, but I came to it through a lot of thinking about radio in general, podcasts, and what we want to do collectively. And actually, by we, that actually includes Crystal Brain, because part of this did start out way over here. It had nothing to do with Trip, where I'm thinking, because that's one of the things that's on my desk at work, radio stations, and I'm pitching these ideas that I get excited about that unfortunately are never going to see the light of day. So, and I talked to Chris a little bit about it and told him, okay, well, if what is your dream situation for a radio station, what you want to do? And he actually had, some basic conceptual ideas that are exciting. Of course, he's a radio guy. So there's that sitting in the back of my head, and I'm thinking, and this entire week has actually been really interesting, because as the video comes out, we watch it. Trip and I have this back and forth on Facebook message, and we're talking about it, and I think that, again, this will be something that's discussed later, but or when I shoot my videos here, that was those two videos where I really dug into the producing development end of and the demographic and the big picture kind of ideas about Sogo Media. I think that Trip is surrounded and inundated with too much theologians and too many people thinking in the same religious lines as him. And what I think I'm seeing, and I'll confirm it with him, but I think what I'm seeing is that I'm really pushing. There's very good bashing heads between the two of us. There's a lot of spark and a lot of ideas being generated through our dialogue. So what I was thinking last night, and it's not because I want to get into the limelight, because I'm not really. This is not the line of thought. This is not the motivation. Okay, here's Trip building this beautiful audience. I need more of that. That's not the premise. The premise is, what if we take what we're doing behind the scenes and put that on audio, on tape? So the idea, and then the other component of that is to bring in that stuff that Chris wants to do. And I was thinking about that actually a couple of days ago. Okay, well, go back to the Horberon show, go back to a Horba cast, and bring in those ideas, and have Chris bring in music and we add that musical component, not of original music necessarily, but that would be part of it. But hey, this is this is the music I'm listening to right now, because that's what he's into. When he does radio, that's what he's doing. He's creating these playlists of obscure music, or the Anything and Everything show. You've seen his posts on Facebook. So I want to do this combination, this this combination of all these ideas, where you have the theologian and I don't even think of him as a theologian so much as this philosopher, this idea guy, this brilliant thinker, the creative atheist, and then the musician, the brilliant musician. And you put all these guys on, on audio and video, but primarily it'd be a podcast, Busted Stuff live on tape delay. So it's recorded, this live session. It's like an hour-long show. And the premise remains basically the same. And this is what I'm having a hard time with in these other venues. Not so much with Trip stuff, but everything else that's surrounding it. But is the premise? What is I talked about that plenty. What is the premise of Sogo Media? And is that something? And in talking with Trip, that's where what we want to do and what Sogo wants to do kind of diverges, because it's not. Our goals aren't just religion and Christian focused. It's broader than that. It's much broader than that. So if we apply that and really think about that for Busted Stuff Live, what do we come up with? Well, Busted Stuff, the premise is broken institutions and the opportunity that presents. And it's not just about religion. And I think that between the three of us, you've got this really fantastic cross-section. You have the religious aspects, you have the musical aspects, the institution of radio, the institution of record labels, the institution of themes and styles of music, and how those failures or how those routines present opportunity. You have the broken institutions or the busted institutions of the creative world, of film, of writing, of books. And I think that's actually a really interesting, fun thing, and to think about. Amazon has breathed new life into the written word and the institution of novels, right? But we've already seen an evolution. We've already seen this new ray of light through the busted stuff of print, be it paper or books or magazines, and it's Twitter, it's blogs, it's this convalescence of digital media. And I think that would be really interesting to bring the three of us together and have that cross-section. Because I think that's, when we talk about religion, when Trip talks about religion, and if you bring somebody on as a guest to talk about something specific about this practice that a church might be doing that's completely different and outside of the mold, well, what happens when you bring that atheist opinion into the mix, into that dialogue? What happens when you bring that atheist opinion, that producer's opinion, into the religious conversation? And I think the same is true when you flip-flop and you apply that mentality to the other aspects of the conversation. And that's interesting, I think. Is it enough? It's interesting, number one. And it's enough for me to say, yeah, let's do it. Number two, though, is it enough to sell it? Well, I think in terms of Trip, he's got that personality and that following he's growing. It doesn't really matter. People are gonna be there for him, and it's going to be the next step in the brand of Anglo Baptist. But I mean, I'm thinking in terms of busted stuff, 3 nobodies on iTunes, right? Who's gonna click on that? Who's gonna download that and say, oh, this could be interesting? And if they do download it, based on this premise, the examination of busted institutions and the opportunity that presents, You know, who does that hook? Who's that? Does that idea have legs, or do we need to get a little bit more specific in the premise, in the pitch, in the log line, in the summary, the synopsis? These are my thoughts. And maybe I will send this over to Trip as the as my idea for Busted Stuff Live on Tape Delay, because it is a grand project idea. It would be the home format would be a podcast, but to record it, so we would probably do it over Google Hangouts, and then we would each have a separate camera shooting us, and then separate audio, and then I would gather all that material up, and so we would have like an hour and a half session, maybe a 90-minute session, and I would gather all that material up and cut it into a 60-minute episode, and we would have, again, primarily for the podcast, for the audio, but also it would be, we would have a video of it, obviously, and it would be a pretty crazy, interesting video, I think, the segment. Of course, then again, I've done the Horberong show and the video end of that, and it's extraordinarily complex. But maybe using Final Cut X with the multicam and all that stuff, maybe it would be a lot easier to process that stuff. Anyway, yeah, I said this was a short video, and it wasn't. Sorry. Stay creative.